Hello and welcome to one of our artist talks. We have a series of artist talks throughout every semester. This one is exceptional because it is part of the Ireland theme semester. So please join the Department of Art and Design and the MSSU Spiva Gallery in welcoming Aline McWeeny and Pessia Altman for a talk about their exhibition, Finding Inspiration, Dublin Photographs and Paintings, 1963-2020. McWeeny is an internationally recognized photographer from Ireland. Altman is a painter from Israel with work in private collections nationally and internationally. Both now call Manhattan home. McWeeny and Altman work collaboratively within this showing of photos and paintings. Altman was inspired by McWeeny's photographs to create her own series of colorful drawings and paintings, which incorporate themes and characters from his black and white imagery. This exhibition has been generously sponsored by Missouri Arts Council, the MSSU Institute of International Studies, the Mildred Marshall Fund, the Friend Family Fund, and the Catherine Hyde Charitable Trust Fund. So join me in welcoming Aline and Pessia.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Dr. Stebbins and Dr. Bentley. Thank you for the opportunity to show our photographs, our artwork, paintings in your Spiva Gallery. And we regret, of course, not being there. Having seen the photographs that you provided us, looks very impressive to us, and we're delighted to see it. I will give a little introduction of myself, and then I will pass it on to Pessia, my partner, and her work. My photography began as a teenager in school, and then worked briefly in a national newspaper as a photographer when I was not much more than a teenager, about 16 years of age. I had a little studio in Dublin for some time doing photographs of portraits, fashion, theater. And I got to the point of thinking I should learn some more. So I wrote a letter to my photographer I admired most, Richard Avedon, in New York. Unfortunately, was hired by him and went for an interview in Paris and worked on the collections. That's back in 1961. And I worked in New York to 62 and then returned to Ireland. I was going to begin a project about the Catholic Church to photograph the people who ran the church in monasteries and in other places in the country. But I thought, from my experience and learning more of art and life in New York, that I would photograph in the streets of Dublin. And so I jettisoned my 120 size camera and bought a Leica and went out into the streets and photographed there, much in the style of street photography I had learned in New York and from the photographers I admired, Robert Frank, Bill Brandt, others. The photographs that then lay there, I worked for about a year, 2 to 2 years. This time, walking in the streets, one has to be quiet. One doesn't converse with other people. You can't ask somebody to take a photograph, because if you do that, the image that you first were inspired to take is gone. So these photographs are done in kind of a silence of meditation, walking around the streets, looking for an image. And at that time, I was just forming things. These photographs came around when Pessia and I joined, and she saw them, and we were then in lockdown in 2020. And she will tell her story of posting them, connecting with memory, And the community and life that time commented by the people in 2020. So I will run through a short preview of the photographs, if I can find them here, as I had them a while ago. They should be here. But in the interim, I may have to provide another source of finding them again on my screen. So rather than delay, I will stop sharing my photographs at the moment and pass you to Persia Altman, who painted inspired by what the images conveyed to her as an artist. So I will now go down to the area of the screen.
I can start, Alan, until you find it. Hi, yesterday I talked about my background. Today I will do it briefly. I was born in Israel, born and raised, always an artist. I think that chose me. I didn't choose to be an artist. I remember at age 3 knowing that I will be an artist. Moved to United States in 1989. And I want to talk about the pandemic. During the pandemic, we lived in Sag Harbor, very isolated from the world. I was teaching on Zoom, high school students in Manhattan about memory. The first lesson on Zoom was showing them a wonderful photo by Alan from the travelers, the Irish travelers, a family standing in front of a little hut. And I told them, look at the photo. I took it off the screen and I asked them, what do you remember? And why do you remember certain things and not the other? And then I signed up to many Irish groups on Facebook, many groups, and one of them was Doubling Down Memory Lane. And I told my students, I'm going to post one of Alan's photos to that group that I figured out. I'm talking about people, if they are interested in memory and history, they are between age 60 to 80. I will post the photo and see what they remember from their childhood. So I did that. I posted one of Alan's photos and immediately I got a response. I'm talking about a group of 70,000 people that started writing about their childhood, about Dublin, about all the aspects of life, from politics and fashion and food. And every day for the next 3 months, I posted a photo and they were waiting. They were in lockdown, nothing to do. They could not go outside. They waited for the daily photo and they wrote to me and we became friends. So that the story, when we saw the text, the collective memory documents that we had, we said, wow, this is a book. And something positive came out of the pandemic, this book. And also the book is kind of a point between the past, 1963, when Alan took the photos, and the present, when people are commenting. So that was a very exciting connection. Alan?
Thank you. Now, can I show some of the photographs? Do I have to do any? I'm not sure if I have to do anything or whether I can just project them on the
Share
screen.
screen.
Just share your screen.
Is that okay? Do I have shared? Okay, let me see when I can share screen. There. Share. Okay, I think we have it. 1 second. I have to do one other thing. Okay, I had something a moment ago, but it's just vanished. Okay, so this photograph, these are the photographs that are in the book. I'm just going to move this a little bit up to the side. I know you can't see it, but I can, so that I can actually show you the screen, the image full size, and I'll just scroll through. So I'm now 21, 22 years of age, and I have a Leica, and I'm walking around Dublin looking for images. So these are the photographs that are in the book and in the exhibit, and that I took maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 rolls of film a day. But it wasn't a matter of taking everything. It was a matter of something sparking some artistic idea that this was an image that had some point and some purpose. So I will just go through them rather quickly because we have limited time. That's a shoemaker. That's the famous Nelson's Pillar in the middle of Dublin that was blown up by the IRA a couple of years after this picture was taken. And it was that had Lord Nelson on the top. Everybody knew it was Nelson's Pillar. That's where the buses all stopped. But nationalism rose and the pillar was blown up. These are 2 young women who worked in a factory and were dyeing up their hair, getting ready for Saturday night, where, as they said, we will be massive. The little story about this is owned by 2 women who were wealthy, as they were landowners, and drove around Dublin in an old Rolls-Royce car registered in England by its license plate, while the woman crossing the street is probably carrying some coal in an old pram with her son standing by. This is a typical scene of Dublin. It was empty of cars then, so often, and a man is just standing in the evening light, pondering. Sometimes there's little to say. This is an almost perfect man, except for his funny adjustment to his physique that had happened. Old people walking in the park, very, very old-fashioned style. Dublin was very poor, 1963. Everybody wore the same clothes summer and winter. This photograph of children playing around a shrine to the Virgin Mary with a box on one boy's head of toilet paper or rolls was a spontaneous photograph that inspired Pessia to do many different versions of incorporating some of the motifs of our condition in lockdown, having a box on our head trying to save us from the unknown. People in a fish and chip shop. Many comments came about the woman is pouring the salt on the table. What a great hairstyle she has. And that he could be somebody else. They look like movie stars. Children outside a butcher shop, left alone in a pram. Would never happen now, but then was common. 2 people obviously startled by me outside a shop selling whiskey. And the comments in the book, as you can see probably in the exhibit, will be saying they're window shopping for whiskey, but they don't look like Irish people in actual fact. They look more European, darker European complexion. Two young men at a wedding was the first day I actually had the camera, and they're unconscious of me because I'm just aiming the camera at them, but their expressions convey a multitude of thoughts. This is kind of the original Facebook. A woman behind her lace curtain chatting to her neighbors, bringing the news, giving new gossip, inner city activity. Boys jumping into the Liffey while the steamer is going out to sea, billowing smoke out. This is a common thing. Boys often save the money from going to the public baths and instead jumping into the Liffey, which of course they're going to get incredible that people actually swam in the Liffey with all the marine boats and stuff going by. Something happened, somebody fell in the water. So all the children gathered around what's happening. And one child, obviously, peering back anxiously at me. This man in half a house, many, many comments in the book about why the house is half. But you will have to refer to the book or the exhibit to read those comments. But the comments brought the photographs alive, and the photographs gave the comments a reason for being. This was a famous bridge that children were afraid to go across at nighttime, or particularly in the winter when it was icy and slippery. And the woman fed these swans that are underneath the bridge every day, and she didn't turn up. She died. Some of the swans apparently went to her hall door and started hitting it. A young man with a strange Hawaiian-looking dancer with a fuzzy top knot. It was a common thing for football or sporting fans to wear these kinds of brooches, but this was an unusually large one. Nighttime in the center of Dublin, winter. Dogs arresting their own curiosity. My landlord, a coal man, outside bathroom, a toilet, forget about bathroom. He was a coal man. I can't remember the rent. I had a gas light. This was at the first time of my independence from my family. I didn't want to be near any of my family. I wanted to be on my own. And so I rented a little room from him for a couple of months while I was taking photographs. These are curious things that struck me as curious and telling of Dublin life, which could be any life. Now, why does the woman have two different kinds of shoes on? That's a question. This is the top of Nelson's Pillar that you saw earlier as a man, the kind of cage they put around to stop people jumping off it, if they should be so inclined. He's looking down on Henry Street and the streets beyond. These are all gone. This has all changed. Nothing of this life remains, except the memory. Outside a church, the priest looks at his watch, the policeman across the street, the pedestrian in the middle. Draw your own conclusions. This man is, I think the comment is pondering his life. And people made all kinds of jokes about this photograph, that only the Dublin Corporation would hire a one-legged workman. And he was saying, I've just shoveled all this stuff from the left to the right. Now I guess I'll have to start shoveling it from the right to the left. The Grand Canal docks were closed, allegedly trying to be drying on the sign. The photographs are much more issues of bringing up memories and the aesthetics of the appearance and the aesthetics of this city as it's shown itself to me, or as I saw it. The President of Ireland, De Valera, arriving at a football match. He was almost blind at this time, but he was much revered and much despised for his involvement in the settlement between Ireland and England, and Ireland having only having everything but the 6 counties, having 26 counties of Irish and 6 counties still in the control of Britain. There is no explanation for many pictures that I'm going to try to interpret. It's really what you may think, what may reflect in your minds in seeing these different images. They're not real estate photographs, they're images to consider. We don't know that if it looks like a priest, that would be the garb of a priest, and a young blonde woman somewhere in the streets. Murphy's Tailors obviously did a great deal of business. Their advertising is notable, and the image of the children going by struck me as something particularly interesting to record. We actually located these 2 women, or the families of these 2 women, in an inner city side street, through the young girl here attending the baby in the pram. These 2 were neighbors, and everybody knew everybody else, and everybody still knows everybody else in some of these inner city streets, in this neighborhood in particular. People were wonderfully helpful when we were going up through Dublin looking for some of the people that might have been in the photographs. I must speed on because there are too many photographs to see. So I think I will stop on this photograph of a woman at the races looking at the form through her magnifying glass and her glasses, and stop my sharing and pass it back to Pessia so you can see some of her work and paintings instead. So I'll stop. And now I hopefully am back to Pessia.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
So can you put up some paintings?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do now.
Good.
It says that my screen is paused.
Go ahead and stop at Pessia and try again.
Stop. Okay. Okay.
Now you're there.
Do you see? No. Okay. I will try it again.
I have something that says leave on the bottom. That wouldn't have anything to do with it. No. No.
Somehow it doesn't let me share.
Alan, if you could share your screen again, and then Pessia
Yes.
take over after that.
Okay. And I'll share. Oh.
Okay, Pessia, go ahead and try again.
Okay. Oh, good.
Yeah, good.
Very good. Okay. So a little bit about myself. I'm an artist that try to live the most boring life, going to bed at 9:30, don't drink, try to exercise daily and be very productive so I can go and work every day. So that's my lifestyle. And I always looking for, even if I'm not inspired, to find something from my life. In 94, in the Museum of Modern Art, I saw a wonderful exhibit by Picasso. It was the women of Picasso. And what was interesting for me, and I learned then in 94, that he had a center. He always went to his center to find inspiration. And for him, it was drawing from life. So this is something that I do daily, drawing from life, figure drawing, portraits, still life, landscape, always with a sketchbook to find my center. Now, because of my connection to the Dublin photos, the Dublin book, those characters in the photos became my family in many ways. And I chose in the photo things that I could connect to, introduce them to each other in my image, creating my own stories. Now, what I'm going to show you, how I use different material, it's a process. And I used different materials to create the images. Here you can see ink, and I'm sure you remember the photo of the man with a bicycle. And I'm not copying the photo. You can see that I create something different. One second. Okay.
You like that?
Okay, I can't do it. Okay, I will be back here. Here I'm using acrylic paint, drawing with some paint. So as you can see, I have that, you didn't see that photo. Okay. I will show the couple, the window shopping for whiskey couple. I created a new image. The kids on the trees, drawing and acrylic. Characters from different photographs, studying them, and the composition is obviously not realistic. You remember this man, I'm sure, the almost perfect man. And again, I went back to the same photos. The kids, with a car, I placed them in a green Irish landscape. And here you can see the kids that running with the box, and you will see him. He became the symbol for me. It's my self-portrait. That kid is me during the pandemic.
The Coleman.
The Coleman, yes. The bridge with swans. Okay.
The old couple.
The old couple, yes, and the girl from the market and crossing the Liffey. Everybody down the river. And here, this is a photo that, part of that, it's actually from life. On the left, you can see India, Alan's daughter, with her dog. She entered there because this is life. The past and the present just became one. The kids by the butcher shop, and here we have more characters. And the technique here is acrylic. The two women, they are not as pretty as they look in Alan's photo, the mother and the child, and the priest by the bus stop.
There's the, there's the president.
Yeah, many stories in one frame.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the kid is running. And the kid is running. And he's running by the priest and the blonde. And he's running by the seashore. And running next to the women that picking from their doors and running here behind the window with the couple that eat in the restaurant fish and chips. You can imagine that kid is actually me. Here he's running in our living room in Sag Harbor. And here he's running in our bedroom. We have a nice Buddha in the bedroom, and he's running there. And he's running in this painting. And running here. And I want to, and you can see that the photographer became part of the painting. Here we have the woman in the race, and the musician that sleeps, and the couple that window shopping.
Good.
And one day I decided that I can't overcome my love to dogs, so dogs appear in the photos. And here you can see the dogs, because I love dogs, in different photos, and then birds. I had a week with birds in the photo. So in every photo you can see a bird, a different kind of bird. And the Coleman, and here he has another bird, and the swans. And those ladies also got a nice bird.
Persia?
Yes.
Slow down and I can show a few more photographs. I think we're actually running out of time. And to catch up on the photographs to align with the images that you just presented, which were so interesting,
Yeah.
but I'd like to have looked at each one of them longer.
Yeah.
But I go to share some of the photographs now. I don't know whether I can.
Just start sharing.
So I will start share.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'll continue with where I left off with her, and I'll go through more quickly than I was. I probably went too slowly. A man out with his son in Phoenix Park. The old cars always looked so appealing, and very bleak Dublin was, and grey, always grey. And always raining. This was an unusual, having an American style car in Dublin. That's very special.
Mm-hmm.
The gasometer, and there's many stories around the people who lived in those cottages. And the children in the trees.
The cover for the book.
Which was the cover, yes. Here is the priest or the minister at the bus stop, and the lady wondering, why is this photographer taking my photograph? And then the bus conductor, who is the man on the left with that little symbol of Chorus Umpererum, or the flying snail, as it was locally called. There's the dog who brought his own newspaper with him. The poor man who had a bicycle to carry logs. The demolition of Dublin from the old world that it was. The poor man putting money into the collection box for the poor. Brought many, many, many comments.
The most comments, yeah.
The girl in the chip shop wondering. Typical afternoon in Phoenix Park on the weekend, people reading the newspapers in the car. The steamroller operator. The older couple with young children, very unusual to see a man pushing a pram at that time. Bits of old world cottages and a horse. And this man pondering, waiting for his wife, we think, who's paddling down by the shore, guarding her handbag and shoes, while he has a little cigarette butt in his hands. Only an Irishman would go to the beach in a black suit, check socks, shiny shoes. I think we will stop sharing and let Pessia now share more, if we can do that.
Okay, sharing.
So I'll stop my sharing.
Don't stop.
Don't stop, you can take over.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So
Good.
I stopped by the birds, and I'm up. Okay. And here I want to we went to Dublin. So here we are in Dublin, working on the book in 21. And when I came back, I still worked on the images, but because of coming back to United States and feeling the connection, actually feeling that I am back home, things change, and you can see a little bit of Western atmosphere came to the painting. I took the kids, and you can see the kid is running, but there are many cowboys suddenly in my paintings coming back to United States. So the subject develop, life develop, subject develop. Every photo has the woman in the race with 3 nice cowboys. Here, the subject changed again. I'm using here pastels, soft pastels and oil pastel. It's about running and standing still. That became the subject. You can see I wrote run. And The subject is changing. And here I started working with ink. I got tired. It was too colorful for me. I wanted something quieter, and it became a little more closer to the images, the black and white images. As you can see, it's back to drawings, but expressive and free. I'm almost done. As you can see, this is very airy, and a lot of the ink is diluted. Everybody together. And this is, I got some photos, and I work directly on the photos with my images. And I thought so I have 2 samples of that. I have more, but here you can see the undertaker and the women. I gave them some props. And then it became, the last subject is Life is a Labyrinth. Probably I was in a bad mood, but everything looks like a labyrinth. And you can see that. And I think I'm done with my photos. Back
Thank
to
you.
you, Alan.
I think we may be getting disconnected in time. I'm not sure, but I'll continue on showing a few more photographs if I can find them, because they seem to, do I stop sharing? Do you stop?
No, that's start.
That's it.
Start sharing. Yeah.
Share. Okay.
So Aline
Oh,
and Pesia, can you hear me?
Yes.
We have about just a few more minutes, and then we have to take questions.
Okay.
fine.
Very good.
Well, I'll just continue on from where I left off. You may recognize, I hope, these images from the paintings of Perseus. So there's comments in this of 3 people sitting in the park where they were teenagers when they sat down. A lot of humor accompanied the photographs and the book. Not all the photographs were cheerful, but some people were determined that the person in the top deck of the bus was also appeared in the lower deck, but I can't quite see them here.
No, in the lower, yeah.
And there is the original image without Perseus' edition. It improved it. This was a street market in winter time, snowing, raining, sleet, but didn't deter people from selling shoes and other bits and pieces. A curious 2 boys, one holding a cabbage. The pram is tied to the drain pipe to stop it rolling down the street. Young girl sucking her fingers. Many comments in the book on that. Yes, people do go to the beach in their overcoats. the old part of Dublin, an eviction victim and his makeshift. The horse show, people still dressed up in their finery. People read, no phones, they weren't around. People read the paper avidly. Also took a lot of risks, going to jump into the Liffey from the top of the railroad overpass. And this is called scudding that kids did then. Many times they were taken 10 miles or more away from where they originally held onto the back of a truck or a van. And then I think I should stop and not stop sharing and take some questions that I hope we will have.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So are there any questions for either Aline or Pessia? Any comments? Doesn't have to be a question. Oh, yes. Sorry. So the question is, where did you meet?
Oh.
Go ahead.
We met in a gallery in the Lower East Side. We started talking. I said I'm an artist. Alan said he's also an artist. From there, we went to eat cold borscht in Ross and Daughters on Delancey Street. And that's history. Everything started there.
Good. Any other questions? Yes. So the question is, what was your favorite part about the whole experience? Like in taking the photos or painting the...
Well, the taking of the photographs was so long ago. It was many years, 60 years ago, that I took the photographs. The pleasure came from the comments that came in during the lockdown when we were isolated in Sag Harbor together. We were totally entertained all day and night by comments coming in to the postings that Pessia had put on Down Memory Lane, this Dublin website. And our entertainment was reading what they said, and then other people would answer what one person said or contradict what was said. And it illuminated life all around the photograph. So it became a kind of a historical document in the making.
And for me, the most interesting thing was I never been in Ireland before starting working on the book. And I could imagine, I read Angela's Ashes, I love Beckett, and I'm familiar with the culture, but I never been there. And I'm I consider myself well-traveler. But never in Ireland. And then arriving and going to find the location of the photos on the street and meeting people and asking questions and the interaction with the Dubliners face to face, I thought that was such an amazing experience, sitting in the fish and chips at the same place that couple is sitting. it was a very special experience for me.
Which has been the work that have you done that it's more like emotionally charged for each of you? Like, which is the photo and which is the painting more that generate you the strongest emotions?
Well, okay, let me go. I can probably find that in a moment. The one.
For me, it was definitely the kid running with a box on his head, because everybody can relate to that image. Everybody that was a child once can relate.
And this is the one I would say that I most like, other than the cover of the book. This was first, then the cover, if that answers the question, because it encompasses a lot of issues. Issues, that's hardly the word for it, but it covers a lot of thoughts and feelings for me of authority, the grayness of Dublin, the mist, the implication of the two, of the priest and the policeman, and the faint image of the pedestrian in the distance.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.